talk to you about real estate if you want. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for taking the time to be here with us today. I'm Roger Corriveau. I'm one of the sales managers for Recorded Books in our library division. We have a really exciting program for you scheduled today. I'm privileged to have one of our best narrators here, all the way from Manhattan, New York, in our recording studios, CJ Critt. But before I introduce CJ, I want to present a brief overview of recorded books, take a look at the audiobook industry, and then examine the recording process. So bear with me, since I'm paying for this program, you have to listen to me.
Good job.
But I'll try and keep it brief. Recorded Books was founded in 1979 by Henry Trentman, who was a traveling salesman at the time. Henry had a passion for literature and listened to a lot of books while in his car. He wasn't happy with what was currently available and decided to start his own company. Henry started with a small studio on the East Coast, actually I think it was in a barn, and produced the first recorded book, Call the Wild by Jack London, and it was narrated by Frank Muller, who was our first and only narrator at the time. Frank answered an ad while performing in the Washington, D.C. area. He was a struggling actor, and rumor had it was living in the trunk of his car at the time. So we've grown significantly since then, and this year we'll record about 650 new unabridged audiobooks in our recording studios in New York and also in London. Publishing, like any large industry, is one of many statistics. Here's some I'd like to share with you. Each year in the United States and the UK, there are about 180,000 books published. Only about a tenth make their way into general interest bookstores. General book publishing is about a $20 billion a year industry at the retail level. About 10% is represented by public libraries. There are 5 major publishers in the United States: Random House, Penguin Putnam, HarperCollins, AOL Time Warner, and Simon & Schuster, which together publish about 75% of the New York Times bestsellers. The average general interest book published is 330 pages, up about 15% from 10 years ago, and made into an audiobook that comes out to about 8 CDs, 12 hours of an unabridged production. To date, about 70,000 audiobook or audio-related titles have been published. Since 1979, Recorded Books has published close to 7,000 unabridged audiobooks, and as I mentioned, we'll publish about 650 this year, about twice as much as any other audio company. And we only publish unabridged recordings. Now, our first job as a publisher is to decide which books to record. Of the 180,000 or so print books published last year, we chose 650. So as you can tell, we're obviously very, very selective in our process. And the selection is done by paying close attention to what's popular, who's getting the press. We look at numerous publications, and we also get feedback from our customers, librarians. We have a direct sales force in the United States, so we talk to hundreds of librarians and get valuable feedback on title selections. And we do, yes, we are listening. Once we've decided which books we'd like to publish, we then have to acquire the rights from either the publisher or the agent. And this is where it gets a little tricky. One of the greatest rewards as a publisher is signing that next big author or series, the next John Grisham or Patricia Cornwell. In 1995, we were lucky and acquired the rights to a religious suspense novel about the apocalypse, the Left Behind series. And I've lost track how many millions of copies are in print right now, but I guess it's even more than John Grisham combined. We also have some success stories: The Kite Runner, The Lovely Bones, just to name a couple. The flip side of that, however, is that we do miss out on titles as well. A few years back, an unknown author by the name of J.K. Rowling introduced us to Harry Potter, and while Recorded Books in all our infinite wisdom decided to pass on that one. That guy wasn't fired either for not doing it. Could have retired 3 years ago if we had that book. After we have secured the rights, it's now time to record the books. The first step is to match the narrator with the book. Male protagonist, male net reader, and vice versa. If it's a British novel, we use a British narrator. We also have narrators who are suited for suspense or humor. So you have to ask yourselves, why would this be important? Imagine listening to an audiobook and the story is based here in Virginia, and the reader telling the story has a Brooklyn, New York accent. Do you think you would enjoy the story? Probably not. The next step is to research the book. We have a research department adjacent to our recording studios. The research staff will read through the book, underline hard-to-pronounce words and meanings, and provide valuable information to the narrator before they record. So again, why do you think this would be important? Well, if you live in Texas and one of the cities is Houston, well, that's how you pronounce it in Texas. But there's also a street in New York City with the same spelling, and it's pronounced? Exactly. One of the best series that we've ever done is Diana Gabaldon's Outlander series. There's a lot of historical dates and, gosh, everything in there. So we have to make sure that the research is done accurately. The next step is the actual recording of the book. The recording is done in 2 to 3 hour increments in soundproof booths with the assistance of a director. The director will read along with the narrator, checking for mistakes. And if a mistake is made, they correct it on the spot and move on. After final proofing and editing, the master copy makes its way to our facilities in Maryland and is then duplicated, packed, and shipped to your local library. So as you can see, we have a great system in place. However, the least credible thing for me to do is stand up here and say that we set the standards in the audiobook industry. There are no standards in audiobook production. No rule that says you need C.J. Cridd or George Guidell or Barbara Rosenblatt or Frank Muller. No rule that says you must record in the studio in soundproof booths. No rule that says you must research the book before it's recorded and match a specific narrator to a story. It's very easy to read a book into a machine, put it on a cassette or CD, call it an audiobook, and sell it for a lot less than what you can buy from recorded books. Our philosophy was, is, and will always be to create the most enjoyable experience for the listener, especially when it comes to the narration, as you'll soon find out.